Emmerdale spoilers, Leyla Cathy faces danger. Leyla's efforts to get the better of Callum on Emmerdale next week backfire when she's snatched and left bound and gagged. Plus, Marshall's dad Colin reaches out, but is his apology all that it seems? Cathy runs a big risk on a night out, while Victoria finds herself dwelling on past horrors. It's a full-on week in Emmerdale, so read on to digest all the spoilers for the 13th to the 17th of March 2023. Susie has a risky plan to take down Callum, label him as a grass in order to antagonize his criminal associates. The problem with the plan being that Callum is soon confronting Susie and attacking her with a brick. An unconscious Susie is then rushed to hospital, where Leyla can't help but feel guilty as she sits by her friend's bedside. The police then admit that Callum has an alibi and that there's no evidence to place him at the scene of the attack. All of which leaves Leyla having to tell Susie once she's woken that her assailant is still at large. Leyla is then left upset and disconcerted when she starts receiving threatening messages from Callum. And when Caleb finds her sobbing in the graveyard, his advice is to play to win where Callum is concerned. The trouble is, Leyla's efforts result in her being kidnapped. And when Susie subsequently discovers that Leyla's missing, she and the family are left filled with dread. Jai confides his fears in Laurel that their family will be impacted by taking on Marshall, unaware that he's been listening in on the conversation from the stairs. The next day, Marshall's dad Colin turns up, having supposedly had a change of heart. He then goes all out to convince his son that he's sorry for disowning him over his sexuality and that it's now time for him to come home. In the wake of him deciding to move back in, Marshall is left very confused when his dad love bombs him with messages. But will his anxiety about the situation also end up impacting on others? Brenda warns Bob that mustn't let the B&B interfere with his responsibilities to Cathy. But a distracted Bob fails to pick up on the warning signs, and when the kids head off to a gig, Cathy comes up with a plan to shake off Wendy as a chaperone. Pretty soon, Cathy's reckless behavior is raising eyebrows, and when she ends up putting her own life in danger, Bob belatedly realizes that she needs proper help. Manpreet advises Charles to give Alex a chance and to only judge him if he ends up letting Naomi down. Soon, Charles is encouraging Alex to go for a job interview, and Naomi is delighted when he's successful. The trouble is, the vacancy is in Wales and Alex is in a quandary as to whether he should take it. But Charles talks him into it, and when Alex leaves, the village vicar ends up putting his foot in it where Naomi is concerned. A delighted Amy and Matty are breaking the news of their engagement to a somewhat thrown Victoria, who eventually reveals why she's acting strangely. As it turns out, an encounter with a man on her night out has triggered memories of her past trauma with rapist Lee. In the wake of this admission, Ethan decides to keep an eye on Victoria and advises her to move on from the events of the previous evening and find someone new. Marlon hopes that a walk around the village with Paddy is a sign that his best friend has turned a corner. Later, the man club reconvenes and Jimmy opens up, giving Bear food for thought in the process. Paddy, meanwhile, makes a decision about his future, but it's clear that his struggles are continuing.